The world watched in absolute horror as Charlie Kirk was gunned down, a moment that felt like a glitch in the collective consciousness, but what has followed in the weeks since that bloody afternoon in the neck of the woods isn't just a tragedy. It is a full-blown descent into a psychological thriller that defies every law of human nature. We are standing on the edge of a rabbit hole so deep that it threatens to swallow the entire political landscape, and at the center of this swirling vortex of suspicion is one woman, Erika Kirk. For anyone who has ever felt like we are living in a simulation, the leaked audio that has just surfaced of Erika Kirk speaking to Turning Point USA employees is the ultimate red pill, because what you are about to hear isn't the voice of a grieving widow, it is the voice of something cold, something calculated, and something fundamentally not human. We are talking about a recording taken just 11 days after her husband's life was snuffed out, 11 days after the father of her children was assassinated in cold blood. And yet, as you listen to the cadence of her voice, you don't hear a single tremor of sorrow or a solitary note of despair. Instead, you hear a woman who is giddy, a woman who is vibrant, a woman who sounds like she just won the lottery rather than lost her soulmate. It is a performance so jarring that it makes your skin crawl, leading to the terrifying question that is now echoing across the internet. Who is Erika Kirk, and what kind of person finds excitement in the shadow of a fresh grave? The behavior being exhibited here is what many are calling invasion of the body snatchers territory, because there is no known human culture or biological baseline where a person reacts to the brutal murder of their partner by immediately pivoting to merchandise sales and key performance indicators. The chilling transformation of Erika Kirk into the new leader is not merely a transition of power, it is a calculated, high-octane seizure of authority that feels less like a grieving widow stepping up and more like a dormant predator finally finding its moment in the sun. As the audio unfolds, the atmosphere shifts from one of mourning to one of clinical, corporate conquest. Kirk enters the fray with a level of enthusiasm that is nothing short of terrifying, a manic energy that suggests her entire life has been a dress rehearsal for this specific vacuum of power. There is no tremor in her voice, no hesitation in her cadence. Instead, there is the sharp, predatory clarity of someone who has finally stopped pretending. She initiates the call by laughing about Zoom emojis, a choice so staggeringly trivial that it feels like a physical assault on the collective grief of her audience. To those who watched the tragedy of her husband's passing unfold in real time, this levity isn't just tone-deaf, it is a deliberate slap in the face, a signal that the era of sentimentality is officially over. By dwelling on digital icons while the body of her legacy is barely cold, she establishes a new, colder reality. This isn't just moving on, it is a systemic purge of human emotion in favor of a digital-first, metric-driven regime. When she finally addresses the memorial service, she doesn't speak of it as a farewell or a sacred rite of passage. Instead, she dives headfirst into the cold, hard metrics of the event, dissecting a funeral with the same detached precision a CEO might use to analyze a quarterly earnings report. She refers to the service as the event of the century. This phrase is the smoking gun of her true priorities. To Kirk, the ritual of death was not a moment of closure. It was a high-stakes branding opportunity. She speaks of the 275,000 attendees not as mourners, but as a captured audience, a massive pool of data points and potential leads. The hundreds of millions of impressions she cites are, in her mind, the true legacy of the man she supposedly loved, not his character, not his contributions, but the sheer volume of digital noise his exit managed to generate. The descent into the macabre becomes even more pronounced when she pivots to the financial windfall of the tragedy. She speaks of the $200,000 in merchandise sales with a genuine, unadulterated thrill that is deeply unsettling to witness. To hear her discuss the sale of hats and shirts, the physical remnants of a man's identity, as if they were clearance items at a high-end department store, is to witness the ultimate commodification of the human soul. She doesn't see the irony or the cruelty in selling legacy at a markup. She only sees a successful pivot from a human life to a lifestyle brand. This is the W hunger that critics have long whispered about, a bottomless, ravenous pit of ambition that has seemingly hollowed out her capacity for empathy, leaving behind a polished, corporate shell. The psychological disconnect Kirk displays is so profound, so utterly alien to the standard human experience of loss that observers are forced into the realm of conspiracy theory just to make sense of her behavior. The lack of standard grief markers, the absence of the basic facial expressions of sorrow, leads people to wonder if they are watching a deep-cover operative or a high-level CIA plant. While those theories may be born of shock, they highlight the very real sense that Kirk is operating on a frequency that is not human. She isn't just a sociopath so advanced that she can't mimic grief. She is something perhaps more modern. A person who has become so integrated with the corporate machine that she views a husband's death not as a tragedy, but as a successful marketing pivot. Every word she speaks serves to erase the human element of the story. She is stripping away the flesh and blood of the man she lost and replacing it with the chrome and steel of a brand. This isn't a woman finding strength in a time of crisis. This is a woman who has found her ultimate product. In Kirk's world, the new leader doesn't cry. They calculate. They don't remember. They rebrand. By the time the audio ends, the man who died has been effectively erased, replaced by a spreadsheet of impressions, a mountain of merch, and a leader whose smile never quite reaches her eyes, because her eyes are too busy watching the ticker tape of her own rising stock. The darkness of this corporate takeover deepens significantly when you examine the brutal psychological pressure she exerted on the remaining staff, individuals who were not merely employees but people actually grieving a man they had served for years. Erika mentions, with a chilling, audible smirk in her voice, that these staffers were pushed to work 20-hour days for an entire week leading up to the memorial. She acknowledges their total lack of sleep, yet instead of offering a reprieve or a moment of human recognition, she frames their exhaustion as a flex for the organization's operational efficiency. It is a transition from a mission-based culture to a sweatshop mentality, where human burnout is rebranded as commitment to the cause. Then comes the moment that has made the blood of even the most cynical observers run cold, the cold-blooded mention of paid time off. In a move that perfectly crystallizes the right-wing grifter archetype, she informs the traumatized, sleep-deprived staff that if they need more time to process their sorrow, they should consult their directors about burning through their own accrued PTO. She is essentially telling them that their grief is a personal luxury, an expense they must finance themselves, while she sits at the pinnacle of the hierarchy, reaping the rewards of the 300,000 new donors who flooded the system following the assassination. It is a parasitic relationship that views the staff as cattle to be milked and the deceased as a final, massive cash cow. This level of calculated detachment inevitably leads back to the most insane conspiracy theories circulating in the vacuum of truth. The suggestion that Charlie Kirk might actually be alive, orchestrating the company's maneuvers from the shadows through a wife who is either 100% blindly loyal or perhaps 100% compromised. When you re-examine her history, the failed actress narrative begins to take on a more sinister, calculated tone. From her early days as a model and a reality TV hopeful to her sudden meteoric ascension as the tradwife queen of the conservative movement, Erika's trajectory looks less like a journey of faith and more like a carefully scripted intelligence operation. She isn't just playing a role. She is executing a long con performance where the human element was never part of the script. There are whispers of Project 2030, a vision Charlie was supposedly working on in the weeks before his death, which Erika is now championing. Why would a man obsessed with the immediate political cycle be focused on a date that mirrors the globalist agenda? Is Erika the bridge to a new, even more controlled era of conservative commentary? And then there is the mystery of the children. Children who have never truly been seen, whose faces are always obscured, and whose very existence is now being questioned by a public that feels lied to at every turn. Theories about surrogacy, fake pregnancies, and even connections to orphanages in Romania are swirling because Erika herself admitted to hiding during her pregnancy, a move she claimed was for privacy but which now looks like a tactical maneuver to avoid scrutiny. When you combine the ultrasound image under her maiden name, the inconsistencies in the baby's ages in photos, and her cold-blooded, business-as-usual attitude, you are left with a picture of a woman who is playing a role in a high-stakes game of shadows. This isn't just about politics anymore. It's about the soul of a movement being hijacked by someone who treats a murder like a product launch. As we look at the footage of her past, the party scenes, the acting reels, the shifting identities, we have to ask, is Erika Kirk the grieving widow she claims to be, or is she the most dangerous operative the conservative world has ever seen, dancing on a grave while the registers keep ringing? The Truman Show has never felt more real, and the lead actress is finally dropping the mask, revealing a hollow core where a heart should be, and a calculation